Loki's eyes isn't a curse. It's a weapon, a secret power that sees into the future. But here's the kicker. King Harald, the giant who started it all. Turns out he's tied to Zoro's ancient bloodline, and Zoro's closed left eye, it might be hiding the very same power. This is the origin story of Loki, and the forbidden truth of the giants of Elbaf. Welcome to Super Synth D Studio, where the final saga of One Piece hits different. If you're ready for real spoilers, raw theories, and hype that slaps harder than Conqueror's Haki, you're in the right place. One Piece. Chapter 1153 kicks off with a childhood flashback of Dory, Brogy, and Harald. We see that Harald was already taller than both Dory and Brogy. Back then, he still wielded a giant hammer as his weapon. The narrator says, Dory and Brogy shared a wild childhood with Harald, the Prince of Elbaf. Born of the ancient giant bloodline, the prince inherited a colossal body, terrifying strength, and elite status. He grew into an arrogant and uncontrollable brat that no one could tame. As he got older, Harald began wreaking havoc in Elbaf. By that time, he had already switched to using a sword. We then see a young King Harald chilling on his ship as it sails across the seas. He's casually picking his nose, saying he's bored out of his mind because everyone outside Elbaf is just pathetic, weak, and puny. He flicks the booger into the sea and turns to his guards. Right, fellas? The royal guards immediately back up everything their king just said. The scene shifts to the Bunt Kingdom in the New World. A circus show is going on there. The circus host shouts, "Step right up. Take a look." 10 meters tall, every step shakes the ground. A roar like thunder. One of the rare giants of this world, hailing from the far-off land of Elbaf. Feast your eyes on Ida. Yup, the giant in question is named Ida, a giant woman with a face full of freckles, thick lips, and a ponytail. Her appearance is way different from the usual female characters Oda draws. From inside the cage, Ida roars and lunges toward the bars, pretending she's about to attack. The crowd instantly panics and runs away from the cage, thinking the act is far too dangerous. Turns out, King Harald is watching all of this unfold through a telescope from offshore. Visibly annoyed, he growls, "You've got some guts," turning one of us, a giant, into a roadside freak show. In a flash, King Harald and his guards annihilate the entire town. Laughing as they go, they call the humans stupid for disrespecting Elbaf, saying they've now learned their lesson. Next thing we know, Harald's already got Ida aboard his ship. She looks shocked and asks who he is. With a smile, Harald responds, "No need to thank me. I'm the King of Elbaf. I couldn't just stand by while they insulted my homeland." Then suddenly, smack! Ida slaps him across the face, and we see Harald's hilariously stunned reaction. His guards panic and shout his name, their eyes and tongues practically popping out in pure shock. Still holding his cheek, Harald's face remains frozen in that ridiculous expression. Yup, just like when Nami punches Luffy. Even a Yonko can't resist the power of a love slap. Ida looks back at the now destroyed Bunt Kingdom. She demands that Harald turn the ship around. He needs to go back and apologize. People got hurt. Are you insane? You want to go back to that puny doll's kingdom? Harald yells in disbelief. Ida, angered by his outburst, bonks him on the head so hard he's knocked out cold. Again, just like Nami. She warns him she'll hit him again if he acts out. Meanwhile, the guards are still screaming their king's name in horror. Ida then explains everything. The humans had rescued her when she was drifting on the verge of death. They gave her a job. Thanks to their kindness, she earned enough to eat and recover from her wounds. She grabs Harald's shoulders, crying as she yells, "Little dolls! What do you even mean by that, huh? You just happen to be born big. Your strength is nothing but dumb luck. Don't kid yourself into thinking you're better than humans. You arrogant disgrace. It's this kind of nonsense that makes the rest of us giants lumped in with you savages from Elbaf." Harald, visibly shaken, decides to turn the ship around. In his mind, he reflects on Ida's words. You just happen to be born a giant. Back at Bunt Kingdom, Ida is now helping rebuild the ruined city. The circus master is thrilled to see her return and help, and she responds with a big smile. On the ship, Harald's guards ask if they're setting sail again, but Harald yells at them for standing around doing nothing. He orders everyone to help rebuild the human city. Hearing their king's command, they immediately run off toward the town. Eventually, the giants and the people of Bunt Kingdom finish rebuilding the city. They cheer in joy. The giants are amazed by how different human construction techniques are. The townspeople offer to teach the giants a few tricks to bring back to Elbaf. Harald starts learning about human culture, like their use of spices. He'd never tasted anything so rich and flavorful before. And the quality of their fabrics, incredible. Harald realizes just how skilled humans are. They truly are masters of their craft. Ida reaches out her hand to the pensive king. Turns out, she's asking Harald to apologize to the townspeople. And so, even as the king of Elbaf, Harald swallows his pride and bows down before the humans to say he's sorry. In return, the people decide to throw a party with Harald and his guards. We even see Harald dancing in a pose that looks like the sun god Nika. From this experience, Harald has a revelation. Destruction in this world is utterly meaningless. He resumes his journey across the seas, and Ida decides to come along. She shares her backstory. She was born on Samuiwanai Island in the South Blue. One thing led to another, and eventually, she ended up adrift at sea. Hearing this, Harald asks, "Did you pass through the great serpent soaked in blood?" Ida is confused and asks if he means the red line. She replies that she did cross the red line, but now she can't return to her homeland. Interesting, that phrase, serpent, soaked in blood, was mentioned by Dory and Brogy back on Little Garden. Now it's confirmed. They were talking about the red line. They said it's the only wall the giants of Elbaf have never been able to destroy, which is why Harald is so intrigued by the topic. There must be a reason the giants call the red line the serpent soaked in blood. In Elbaf, there are murals and the sacred Harley scriptures dating back centuries. Could the red line be linked to the serpent of hellfire, mentioned in those scriptures from the first world? Later, Harald and Ida visit another island. The people there reject their arrival, but Harald simply smiles and catches a giant shark to offer as a gift to the locals. Harald then invites Ida to join him on a journey to Elbaf, promising it's not as wild as she thinks. Ida replies, maybe she's been too harsh in judging him. Yup, Harald's character development is starting to shine. From a ruthless destroyer of cities to a diplomatic king, and it's all thanks to Ida. We then see them watching the sunset together. Behind them, the royal guards whisper to each other that their king has definitely changed. One of them mutters, "Kinda creepy, huh? Hope it's just a phase." Clearly, the guards are uneasy. After all, Elbaf is a land of war, a kingdom of warriors. Their king acting soft like this? That's unheard of. The story shifts back to Elbaf, 105 years ago. King Harald has returned from his voyage. He stands before his people and delivers a speech. Until now, we've sinned greatly. It's time we atone. One of the giants, confused, asks what happened to Harald. His personality seems completely different. His personality seems completely different. Harald continues, "As king, I intend to travel abroad frequently. I hope to extend a hand of reconciliation to our neighbors and learn from their cultures. Our land can prosper if we learn from the world." Two giants chuckle, saying that Dory, Brogy, and the others will never stop fighting. Harald responds, "I've known those two for a long time. They've always had unique personalities, but they've never failed to treat humans with fairness and respect." Yep, even if they're wild, Dory and Brogy do know how to show gratitude to humans. Just look at how they helped the Straw Hat pirates, both on Little Garden and at Egghead. Another giant asks if they can still live as warriors. Harald replies, "Maybe we need to rethink some traditions. If they make other nations feel threatened." Jorel and Jarl are also present, laughing as they watch the speech. They comment that Harald's change is huge, and it looks like a turbulent journey lies ahead. Yup, Harald's road won't be easy. The elders of Elbaf will definitely oppose his ideology, wanting to keep their warrior traditions alive. Ida looks on with a smile. believing that Elbaf is truly blessed now. We then see King Harald heading out on another voyage. He's shown bartering with humans, trading a giant bottle of beer for a few barrels of unknown goods. He records all of this in his journal. And yes, Ida is with him. As Harald writes, we see Ida peacefully sleeping by his side. Turns out, she was the one who taught him how to handle diplomacy. Ida once said, "When we negotiate with other nations, we gain deeper cultural understanding." Harald, still a little clueless, interpreted that as negotiating prisoner terms with weird conditions. Ida corrected him immediately. "That's not what I meant. People need to connect, otherwise, international cooperation will never happen." Who exactly is Ida? She clearly has deep knowledge of diplomacy and international relations. The scene then shifts to Elbaf. Exactly 81 years ago, in the eastern fishing village, Ida had just given birth to Hajrudin. She congratulated Harald. He had finally become a father. Turns out, the elders of Elbaf also arrived to offer their congratulations. Harald seemed eager to bring his family to live in the royal palace, but the elders quickly shut that idea down. Unfortunately, they couldn't recognize Harald and Ida's marriage. Only those of pure blood were allowed into the royal family. So, who exactly are these elders of Elbaf? Well, Elbaf is made up of multiple villages. In the western village, the elders are Jarl and Jorul. It looks like each village has its own elder leader. Harald clenched his fists, frustrated by their words. He apologized to Ida, admitting that the problem lay deeply rooted in culture. Feelings alone weren't enough to change tradition, even though she couldn't live in the royal palace. Ida was warmly embraced by the giants in the eastern village, but Ida wasn't angry. In fact, she felt grateful that Hajrudin could at least grow up close to his father, even if they didn't live together. One intriguing note. In One Piece, chapter 1147, we saw 3 villages, west, north, and south. But Oda hasn't shown us the eastern village yet, the one where Ida lives. Could she still be alive today? The Elbaf elders finally introduced Harald's arranged bride. Her name was Estrid, a noble giant with the bloodline of the ancient giants running through her veins. She was the daughter of a prominent Elbaf family. The elders added, Estrid is the one truly worthy of becoming queen. And to be fair, Estrid was more beautiful than Ida. Not only that, she carried the ancient giant blood, even though she didn't have horns. That's why Loki has horns, while Hajrudin doesn't. Estrid formally introduced herself to Harald. She said she was born in Alcohol Village in the north. On top of that, she was a student of Difeng, a pun on Feng Shui, an art that focuses on placement, harmony between people and their environment, and attracting good energy, prosperity, health, and luck. Estrid walked right up to Harald, stroked his chest, and declared that her destiny was to love him forever. Then she asked him to forget that woman from the East, Ida, and her illegitimate child. Sweating nervously, Harald replied that he couldn't possibly do that. Estrid didn't miss a beat. She instantly demonstrated her Difeng skills, saying that the energy here was aligned with the East, and that couldn't be allowed. The king's spiritual aura was leaking, she claimed. She demanded the guards close all the windows immediately. Everyone was confused by her words, but Estrid kept going. She asked them to remove a mirror that, apparently, created a deadly 5-star configuration. Then she presented a gift to Harald, a horse, a special steed named Asura, said to bring immense fortune. "This is a mount worthy of your majesty. Consider it a gift from my family," she said. "It'll surely bring you luck." The royal guards were stunned by how massive the horse was, but they all had one big question. Why did it have 8 legs? Yup. In Norse mythology, the 8-legged horse was Odin's mount, Sleipnir. In Feng Shui, the number 8 symbolizes wealth and good fortune. This horse is the same one that Loki will eventually slay, as revealed back in chapter 1136. Later, we see Estrid alone with the royal guards. It seems Harald had gone off on another diplomatic voyage. Estrid told the guards to bring all the palace's jewelry and gold into her room. Her excuse? The space around the king had to be filled with earth and wind elements. She also instructed the staff that from now on, She and the king would only eat from silver plates. The guards muttered to themselves, saying it all felt way too extra. The scene then shifts to one of Harald's voyages, this one around 70 years ago. At the time, rough seas still made island travel a major challenge. We see Harald's ship sailing near the waters of Wano country. He encounters a ship filled with Wano samurai. Harald shows them a compass and points to a star that never moves. He calls it the North Star. Narrator: Elbaf's advanced navigation techniques drew the attention of other nations. Interesting, so Harald was also teaching maritime navigation to foreign lands, including people from Wano. Samurai are notoriously terrible at sea travel, since Wano is an isolated country where sailing away is considered a criminal act. It's likely that Harald passed these techniques to a few Wano locals, possibly the same people who led to Shimotsuki Kuzaburu's journey 55 years ago, which means Harald might be connected to Zoro's grandmother from Wano. Next, we see Harald telling stories of his sea adventures to a group of young Elbaf giants. One of them asked if he had ever met a fishman. Harald smiled. It was time to tell them that story. Harald had even encountered mermaids. Those people were born of the sea. When he visited, a new prince had just been born. His name, Neptune. And it wasn't just the fishmen or mermaids. Even the sea creatures themselves joined in the celebration. The children listened with wide eyes, hanging on to every word of Harald's tale. Scene then shifts. 63 years ago, inside Aurus Castle, while King Harald is away at sea, Estrid has just given birth to a baby boy. The nurse announces that the baby is healthy. Estrid immediately names him Loki, saying she and King Harald had already discussed this name. Then she asks the nurse to bring the baby closer. She wants a clearer look at his face. And then we see baby Loki's face. His eyes are narrow, almost slitted, so unusual that Estrid gasps, stumbles off her chair, and screams out loud. Yeah, that's horrifying. This terrifies me. What is that? There's no way this creature came from me. The royal nurse tries to calm her down, still holding baby Loki in her arms. Estrid stares again, trembling with fear, and says, "Tell the king this baby was born dead. This is completely unacceptable. This baby is cursed. Look at it. It's a monster." Then, in a moment of sheer madness, Queen Estrid grabs the baby. The guards try to stop her, but she ignores them all. And just like that, she throws her own son into the underworld. Baby Loki, helpless and crying, reaches his tiny hands up into the air. Narrator: when the Prince of Elbaf reached both arms toward the heavens, not a single soul was there to receive them. It's said that among all the Forsaken in this world, none suffer more than those abandoned at birth by their own mother. After discarding Loki, Estrid commands every royal guard and palace servant to stay silent. No one must ever know what happened. As far as anyone's concerned, no baby was born that day. Then we see her packing up all her belongings along with the palace's gold and jewelry. One of the guards asks, "Your Majesty, where are you going?" Estrid answers coldly, "I'm going back to my village. I will never give birth again." But suddenly, another guard bursts in, shouting frantically, "There's news! From the underworld! Underworld!" Double-page epic spread. We see baby Loki, wounded, crying, but climbing his way up the treasure tree Adam. His body's battered, clawed, bloodied. He's just survived. Battles against beasts from the depths of the underworld. Scene transitions to 3 different locations. Estrid lies ill in the palace. Harald sails across the turbulent seas. And in the eastern village of Elbaf, Ida watches over little Hajrudin. Narrator: from the moment Queen Estrid fell ill, Estrid, delirious, erased that child from this world. The prophecy was clear even before his birth. One day, King Harald would be killed by his own son. Palace guard: "Your Majesty, please stop saying such nonsense." Narrator: while Harald wrestled with the limits that divide nations in diplomacy, Harald, frustrated. The world government blocks us again. Why can't nations move freely? Scene shifts to Elbaf's eastern village. "Ida, that's your little brother, isn't it? Wouldn't it be lovely if you could meet him? Oh, the little cutie! Hajrudin angrily. He's not my brother. He's not your child. Ida, smiling. Oh, you're adorable no matter what you say. We see a silhouette of young Loki and hear the narrator. From this moment forward, every disaster that strikes Elbaf would come to be known as Loki's Curse. Oda has delivered yet another tragic backstory. Loki, an innocent newborn, was immediately framed by his own mother, driven mad by omens and prophecy. Because of his demon-like eyes, she cast him into the underworld, and she declared a prophecy. King Harald would die at the hands of his own child, and even though that prophecy would eventually come, true, Loki only did it out of necessity. He told his half-brother, Hajrudin, he killed his own father because Harald had already been taken over by Imusama. Suddenly, it all connects. Why did Harald go to Merry Joys? Because Harald was a king who believed in diplomacy. He wanted to end Elbaf's barbaric traditions, to trade, to open dialogue. But in this chapter, it's revealed the world government was the wall blocking that diplomacy. Eventually, Harald sought diplomacy directly with the world government, but he walked straight into their trap. They agreed to negotiate. On one condition, Harald must join the Holy Knights. But that was just the bait. Their true aim was to enslave the giants of Elbaf, to turn them into weapons of war. And now we return to Loki's eyes. They weren't a curse, they were a gift. His unique eyes grant him godlike Kenbunshoku Haki. Even with his eyes closed, Loki can see it all. He sensed the fall of Chopper and Gaben into the underworld. Those slitted eyes, they let him see into the future, just like Madame Charlie. If you look closely, Madame Charlie's eyes are nearly identical to Loki's. So yes, his future sight observation, Haki, is insane, but so is his raw strength. Remember, Loki survived immediately after birth, in the underworld. Even Hajrudin admits he would have died instantly if he had been thrown there. Yet baby Loki was splitting underworld monsters in half. Even Gaben acknowledges it, saying only Shanks has ever been able to defeat Loki. Why? Because Shanks is an Observation Haki killer. No matter how far ahead Loki can see, Shanks can move faster than Loki can react. In One Piece chapter 1152, when Gaben talks about how to defeat the Holy Knights, Loki says he can defeat them, but he can't describe the power he's using. And Loki was the only survivor from the battle against the Holy Knights. That battle? It happened 14 years ago, the day Harald died. Gaben says he sensed a strange kind of Haki at the Orist Castle that day. That same strange Haki is what he now senses from the Holy Knights currently in Elbaf. And the power Loki couldn't describe was the power in his eyes. To defeat enemies with regenerative powers, Advanced Conqueror's Haki alone isn't enough. Gaben warns Luffy, be careful with your King's Haki. The real strategy? Combine Advanced Conqueror's Haki with Advanced Observation Haki. Think about how Zoro defeated Mr. One. He used Breath of All Things. He felt the breath of Mr. One's steel body. Then he could cut him. Same idea with the Holy Knights. You have to sense their true soul first. Using Advanced Observation Haki, then you can strike them. That's why Luffy suddenly awakened his Advanced Kenbunshoku Haki in the underworld, when he sensed Chopper and Gaben falling. But what about Zoro? He already has Advanced Conqueror's Haki, but not Advanced Observation yet. Could that be the secret behind Zoro's closed left eye? Remember, Mihawk's eyes are different too, like a hawk. That's why he's called Hawkeye. The Vivre card even gives Mihawk the nickname Clairvoyant. So just imagine, if Zoro's closed eye is actually being trained to unlock future sight. This is the tragedy of Loki, the diplomacy of Harald, the rise of Ida, and maybe the hidden destiny of Roronoa Zoro. Did Loki really have to kill his father? Is the curse of Loki still unfolding? And what's behind Zoro's left eye? Drop your thoughts below and hit that like button if your jaw dropped like mine did. Subscribe to Super Synth D Studio because we're not just talking One Piece, we're living it. See you in the next chapter, Nagama.